Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Stuart, Victor Echo 9, Charlie Foxtrot, and on this YouTube performers part of our channel, we bring in very interesting folks from around the POTAverse, the POTA community. People I like, people that I talk to all the time, just general good people. And today I have one of those general good people, my good friend Rich from my neighboring province, just to the east of me, or kind of to the southeast-ish from me. Rich, VE1RPX, who at one time, believe it or not, was a very fierce competitor of mine. We'll get into that in a few minutes, but Rich, welcome to the program, my friend.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. I've been watching a few of your videos on your YouTube channel there. Really stepping up the game there and pretty active. So thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Well, you know, you got to keep the content fresh or the viewers won't come. That's what I've learned in this YouTube journey of mine. Rich, you know, the standard question I use every time we get to start the program is, tell me about how you got interested in ham radio, you know, what you've done over the years. Just give me the background.
Okay, we'll start back in the 70s then. I got a Christmas present from my parents, a set of Archer walkie-talkies, probably 1975. They're like a chrome and black-faced set, single channel, that provided a lot of fascination for me. And, you know, we open up the box. I kept it in the box and in the styrofoam packaging. You could smell the flux and over the electrical components back in those days from emanating from the radio. So it's a smell and visual that I associate with radio. It was probably a few years later, I would have been 14 or so, I got an 8-track player. That's what I wanted for Christmas. And it happened to have a radio in it, and it was shortwave, AM, FM shortwave. Even without the benefit of a good antenna, in the evenings, you could listen to distant stations. AM radio mostly is what I was doing. And of course, the different countries that are on the air. So that was pretty fascinating. And I've been a bit of a nerd, but kind of on the sidelines for most of my life. Well, fast forward then to when I got a real job and I could afford a few luxuries. I got into scanner listening, because there's a few people that I knew that were into aircraft. And so that provided a lot of entertainment. And it was at that time that bulletin board systems, I think we're talking about the 1987, 1988, and we didn't even have internet around here per se. So we're on bulletin board systems, but I would download some papers concerning scanner listening, and you know, follow along with guys like Bill Cheek that would modify scanners, and everybody seemed to be doing it, and I developed a real interest in that. So first antenna went up, then the second antenna went up with a better feed line. It got higher in the air, and I couldn't believe the difference in reception. And then of course it was a natural progression to get an all-band receiver, so another Radio Shack or realistic receiver, a DX394, and that's where I first heard amateur radio operators or hams, and I would tune in to the guys on 80 meters at night, and eventually I put up a long wire behind the house, so it was 225 feet, and not terminated well, but it did the job. I knew enough to put in a lightning arrestor and whatnot, so I listened along for quite a while, and but got real busy, a lot of promotions at work, so my life was full. We have a small family, and I live pretty close to work, so not a lot of travel time. However, my days were full, oftentimes 14 hours. But then when I retired, I thought I'd move ahead on the amateur radio stuff. So I was 2020 that I retired from the company I was working for. I went ahead and got my ticket. I signed up first a local course offered by Annapolis Valley Amateur Radio Club, or Alphonse Penny, VE1RPX. So that was great. I got to meet the community, local community. But then, of course, in March, everything shut down here in Canada. So we went online and completed the course then. And so it was July. I got my license, got on 2 meters. I did have mic fright. Oftentimes, if I don't know a subject, I'm not that confident speaking about it. So just like pretty well everybody, I'm not a very good BSer, if you want to call it that. So I got the license then in 2020 and started with UHF, VHF, and within a few months, I put up my first dipole on 20 meters and got on the air.
I mean, obviously you were very active at one time. No, still somewhat active in parks on the air today. Not, you know, just like you and myself, I get out occasionally now. But I'm not totally stopped activating, but nowhere near the frequency I did at one time. But how did you stumble upon Parks on the Air? Tell me that story, because I think most of us have, a similar story where we're down in the band and heard this Parks on the Air thing and went, "Ooh, what is that?"
Well, after getting on the air at home here, it really only took a visit to local ham, and that's one of the benefits of this hobby is you have people that you can replicate or duplicate what they do and employ best practices anyway. I end up buying a radio the same as somebody that I chose to ask to mentor me. And so that was VE1RY, Stan in Greenwood. That's about 20 kilometers away from me. So we got, I would say, after I got on the air, I couldn't quite fall in love with HF. So I ended up making maybe, a few hundred contacts, and then decided to try FT8. And that's when I got my DXCC using FT8. Got bored of that after about a year. So here we are in 2022, and it's thinking, well, I need something more. So I heard about POTA and decided that we're campers. Like we camp for sometimes 70 days per summer. And I thought I'd take, I bought an infed half wave and I put it up in the trees above the camper there. And I got hooked on the intensity because the first time I had really held a frequency by myself, like to any degree. I participated in a few contests prior to that just to try to get a feel for it, but I wasn't good. To answer your question specifically is that that gave me the same type of drive that you used to get when you're working on a project in my employment. So a lot of guys are very objective oriented, and they look to achieve and accomplish certain goals. So that was the case for me. So in year one, I accomplished getting on the air and then started with that knowledge of how to conduct QSO, and effectively got into contesting a little bit and got a couple of awards along with the team award as well. The next year, it looked like all of a sudden I started winning some. I heard about the RAC challenge that was runs parallel to the POTA program, and you can include your contacts in that. And I went and submitted and started winning particular months. And by the end of the year, I was very close to being the winner. That was in 2023. So in 2024, I set an objective to win that challenge. So I dedicated myself to it. And when you dedicate yourself to a particular challenge, when it's done, you kind of wipe your hands and say, okay, I did that. What's next? And if there's not anything obvious within the radio world that's next, then, you might move on to something else. And I've been a person that does a lot of different hobbies. So I end up focusing on a few other things in my life. However, I wanted to stay present in the program to help support the RAC challenge and also the POTA community. So that's what I did. I started activating maybe a few times a month and didn't focus on winning it.
And I know the 2024 run for the Cup, I'll call it, was a very intense year. And I say it was a lot of friendly banter, friendly back and forth. You gave me a good run for my money, and you pulled it out. There was one month I think where I think you just beat me by a few hundred points. If I would have just made a few more QSOs, I would have. I think that was the year I did Lake Temiscouta in Quebec. I was just a few QSOs shy, and it was the last day of the month. But it was all fun, Rich. That's what I liked about it. We had some friendly back and forth. I would say your commitment to winning it was, I think, what pushed it over the edge, because I probably didn't have the same commitment, but I learned that, and I experienced that in 2025, because I started the year saying, I gave Rich a good run for his money. Maybe I need to go find something new in ham radio. I like portable. I like DXing. I like contesting. Can I merge all three? And it wasn't really until June of 2025 where I sat down and said, if Rich committed himself to winning 2024's RAC challenge, and if you want to learn more about the RAC challenges, I'll put a link in the comment below. Committed himself doing, can I do the same thing? And so I started doing the same thing. I said, okay, my goal for this year is to win the RAC challenge. I think 1 month, Auntie said, I've never seen anybody put up 3 million points in 1 month. That was a crazy month. I think I hit, I was out every single day for hours every single day. Commitment to a goal, if it's just like, if you're a casual POTA activator or a contester, I think, Rich, that's what keeps you going, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we live our lives, especially our work lives, being goal-oriented. It ingrains in you. I'm a I'm a farm boy at heart, raised on a farm over in Scotts Bay on the Fundy Shore. And every day there was a goal. You accomplished the goal, and you didn't stop working until you accomplished that goal. So that's kind of the mentality I brought to my work life and now to my hobbies as well.
I don't know if you particularly remember this day, Rich, but you and I met at the Halifax flea market. I think Steve was there, VE1RPX, and a few other guys. And we were both leaving around the same time, and we leapfrogged each other at different parks on our way home. And I still remember the last park. I can't remember which one it was, but you were one end of the parking lot with the other. And I said, okay, I'm going to wait till Rich is finished before I start mine. And I think you just wanted to get your 10 and go because you wanted wanted that park. And I said, I'm going to stay here for an hour or two. So I let you finish up. And I think the last QSO you made was a park to park between the two of us at the same park.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure that you held the frequency after that because you're monitoring and obviously aware. So it was already pre-spotted and just had to change the number. I just had to go QRT. But yeah, I look for that opportunity anytime I'm in a different part of the province where I haven't been, and there's it's not too much of a commitment to drive a little farther. Then I'll go there and activate a park.
So you win the RAC challenge in 2024. I took the title in 2025. You and I are past champions of the RAC challenge, or we got our nice unsigned certificate, as we say, right? It's all good. It's just more wallpaper for us. What next in ham radio for you then?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm still exploring. However, I'm looking forward to band conditions and what the cycle will hold. Coming in on the bottom of the cycle and riding up through, I understand that POTA is going to be more difficult for people in the coming 3 to 5 years. There's just no doubt about that. So I bought a Nikon 9700, the VHF UHF SSB transmitter. And I'm thinking about going out and doing hilltop activations to see how far I can get out on VHF UHF. That's of interest to me, but that's kind of one of those things would be 3-4 times in the summer. I'm interested in that. I really like to improve on my home station to put up a tower and a rotating beam. I do have 2 towers. They're not ready to put up, but they're there as projects sitting ready to be done. And I'm kind of looking forward to having a good home station. So I think I'll be of the age where the last part of my ham radio experience when the next cycle ends. And so therefore I'm going to try to establish a tilting tower in order that I can maintain it as an older guy. So that's what's happening now, and I'm still open to a lot of other things, but I'm not so interested in any of the internet-based comms on VHF, UHF, or anything like that. It's just not my thing. But everybody has their own thing. But I continue to want to do HF. I'm excited by DXing. However, when I go out with a coffee after supper to local parks, there's a park only 600 meters from the house. So after supper, I'll take a coffee and go down, and propagation's super good on the gray line there, and especially down into the eastern seaboard, down as far as Gulf Alpha and even Foxtrot Lima. You get a lot into there, out to Missouri, and certainly into Ontario right around that time of evening from 6 until 9 in the peak of the summer, and say from 4 until 7:30 approaching around this time of year. So you go out with a coffee and just say hi to a bunch of people that you've made contact with before, and you start learning their names just by their call sign. And I liken it to walking down the road and just saying hi to your neighbors. It's kind of a nice experience for me. But the DX are also very welcome, and 2 of my top 10 operators are DX stations.
Yeah, and I have a project for this summer too. This is my G1000 rotator. We're going to be taking the 450 off the tower and replacing the top tower section, because there's a tapered one right now, and putting a regular straight tower section up there, and then dropping the 1000 rotator into the cage and putting a 40-meter rotatable dipole underneath the hex beam. Because one of the things I want to do next year is work better DX on 40 meters. I find from the contesting, I do relatively well. We're very lucky here on the East Coast. 40 meters into Europe is pretty straightforward for us. I run an end-fed half wave for that, but I want to get a little bit better. But I do a lot of Japan long path in the evenings in the winter. And I can work Japan on the NFED half wave, but when my buddy down the street's getting a 20 over, I'm getting a 5 and 7. And so I thought about putting an 80-foot tower up there with a Mosley TA63. Then I started getting quotes for how much the tower would cost. And I went, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It would have been 20 grand easily to do it right. Yeah, I do have a DXN 68 tower in the garage that got tower pieces. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I'll figure out something. Let me ask you a question about that 9700. Does that allow you to work satellite?
Yes, it's one of the preferred radios for satellite. There's only one issue with it. It's the internal clock, and apparently there's add-ons you can do in order to make that better. But yeah, it's a satellite radio for sure. One of the top choices. I
kind of looked at that this year as as noise levels and HF started increasing. We had some issues. I told you my story about my noise with my solar system here. Every once in a while I'll get an S. Not, thank goodness, knock on wood, it's not frequent. I'll get an S7 noise in the middle of the night. Don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from somewhere local, but it's very infrequent. Maybe once a month, if that. It always seems to happen right in the middle of a contest. That's the bad time. It always seems to happen then. But I was thinking, if the noise, just regular noise from cheap Chinese made switching power supplies or other junk like that continues to rise, you gotta have something other than HF to work on, right? So I thought looking, maybe the satellite stuff would be really, really interesting. And I was talking to somebody the other day that there's only one stationary satellite that hits any part of North America, and that just covers a little bit of St. John, Newfoundland. It's not going to be until we get a full stationary satellite that covers all of North America, where you can go on any time of the day. Now there's all kinds of satellites that move around, of course, but I'm talking about geostationary satellites. There's only the one that covers a slim bit of St. John, Newfoundland. But you can work into Japan on that one. So I mean, that's talking about interest. Just as I think, as you and I realize, that there's other interest in ham radio. You start with FTA, got into POTA. Now you're talking about DXing, which is my love. Ham radio is how do we combine all those together?
Well, just keep it on your agenda. That's one of the things. Is I'm surprised sometimes I lose interest in something and then say, well, okay, this afternoon I'll pick that up again, and then all of a sudden 3 or 4 hours later, and you're late for supper. It's a type of thing. You realize again why you liked it to begin with. So and I went out and did a couple of activations, actually about 10. Just this month on the RAC challenge and within POTA, and it's kind of nice. People say, "Hey, welcome back, Rich. Good to hear you again." And it kind of lights a bit of a fire under you and said, "Yeah, this is we're living a pretty good life where you can choose what you want to do and enjoy it. Choose to leave it if you like for a while and prioritize other things. But you can't fault anybody for just following their interests."
Yeah, you always sound good here. I don't know what it is, but I can't hear other stations in Nova Scotia, but I can hear you. Not overly strong, but 100% readable. I know it's I can hear every single word you say. Maybe it's some good ground wave. Maybe that's what it is. But maybe it's the Bay of Fundy salt water that's doing it. You never know, right?
I really don't understand it. I really don't, because everybody else, I'm skipping over them or they skip over me. I can't hear any activators in the Maritimes on 20 meters. It's either 40 or 80 meters or nothing for me. But for some reason, I guess directionality is something, and it's got to be ground. It just has to.
And it's same with Len and Linda, V9MY and V9GLF. I hear them no problem from my house. They're a couple hundred kilometers away, but any band, I could be doing a POTA activation up in Miramichi and I'll hear them. So I think it comes down to maybe antenna height as well, or power. Because when I'm talking to you, I know you're not running 700 watts, but I am. But I can still hear you though.
Yeah, I try to run good antennas. The only time I'll run the Hustler ham sticks is when I have the wife's car out because I'm doing a rove of some sort. But even with the car, I can take out different antennas with me that I can get a full quarter wave on, and it's not a lot of time for setup. So I like running good antennas because I don't like struggling with the comms, and people sure seem to appreciate it that I also push 100 watts. I don't limit the wattage in order to try to reduce the pileup. The pileup's fine with me. If I only hear a couple letters at the end, you're the guy. Right? You're the next person in.
And I'm unlike you. I'm kind of an early morning guy, so I'm out there at the crack of dawn. I'm this year my goal is not so much net new parks, although I'll try to get some net new parks this year. I really just want to go and build a 31-foot dipole with a 9-to-1 unun, or 31-foot vertical wire with a 9-to-1 unun, or something out of Salty Walt's antenna book, or I bought a Radio Oddity HF10 that I got to figure out one day to use it, or I think I have this Chinese dipole that I bought that I'm going to take out to a park. I just want to. My goals for this year, Rich, you'll see the theme in upcoming videos, is can it DX?
Yeah.
Can I work DX? And I mentioned this is no secret of my channel. I'll work all the North American stations I can if they want to call me. But my goal when I go out is I want to see how many Radio Victors or Uniform Tangos or 9 kilos I can get in my log. Not so much how many Whiskey Bravos or Kilo Quebecs or Victor Echoes I can get in my log. And again, that's what I say about POTA. Everybody has their own goals, and my goal is to work DX. So I get out there the crack of dawn at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's remarkable what you can hear in Europe at that time of the morning.
Yeah, and that's what keeps your interest in it. So being goal oriented, and I pretty well knew that about you. But you do move around quite a bit from one thing to the next. But you've been sticking with your DX, so I gotta appreciate that. And the progress you've made in such a short period of time is pretty remarkable. Got to say that.
DX and contesting, my 2 real, and portable. Those are my 3 real passions in ham radio. Again, my goal is this year, how do I combine them all together?
So the interesting thing from your last few interviews, the 20-meter vertical with 49-to-1 on the bottom there that Salty Walt was talking about, I'm interested in that. I've been making my own end-fed half waves, little boxes and whatnot. Bought a bunch of ferrite cores and some wired wrap in some boxes, and they work pretty good. You can also get some $20 boxes, low power boxes off of eBay, direct from China. They're wound incorrectly, but all you got to do is unwind one of the primaries and resolder it, and you got your full multi-band. I think you can tune them to a single band when you unwind one of the primaries, and all of a sudden the thing just bursts to life. Anyway, where was I going with that?
I don't know. I don't know. Where are you going with it? VE1RPX. No, I don't know. I got ferrites here too. I'm doing the same thing, building my own antennas. Tweak your interest, right? Keep the interest going.
Yeah, I'm interested in what he had to say, and I remember what he had to say about the low angle of takeoff with a half wave vertical. So of course, I'd like to try that one. And I want to develop a portable beam as well, probably 15 meters. Where 10's not 15, you can bridge a few seasons, and where 10's mostly wintertime for us, and certainly 20 is a little bit too big to manage. But a 15-meter beam is kind of where my interest lies, I think. So I can do a bit of DX with that. But I've had some good results, especially out on Graves Island. That's right off the water, the coast of Nova Scotia, right near Halifax. Incredible DX location, just remarkable. The island is up on a hill. It's about probably an elevation of 100 feet, and you got full view of all horizon all around you. And so I put up a 32-foot fiberglass tower there with a pulley at the top, and raise up a link dipole for 20 and 40, and just incredible. You're doing 150 an hour plus when you dedicate yourself to it, and that's always the evening for me if I'm not on a rove. And then you can sit back and have your campfire and a few beverages with the wife, or maybe a few friends that are around that are willing to wait for you to get off the air. And so it's a pretty good combination of mixing the camping with ham radio.
I remember going out to George's Island last year right in Halifax harbor there. I think I got 42 contacts. So I managed to activate it for POTA, but I failed on my worldwide flora and fauna activation. But nice thing about flora and fauna, I can go back this year and finish it. But I remember the band conditions were just terrible. But what a beautiful, beautiful place to go and play. It was national park or a national historic site. It was really, really busy. Where we are, Rich, people always say, we're so fortunate where we are, especially here with salt water on 3 sides of us. We got the whole world in front of us, and running. If anybody has never done POTA in the Canadian Maritimes, I highly, highly recommend you come up here and experience it, because it's a real blessing. Although I do have very good success in Ontario as well. And this year I'm planning to do a trip out to Alberta. So it depends on if I'm flying or if I'm driving. I'm hoping I'm driving, because I'm going to stop and play some portable ham radio along the way.
Yeah, DX is pretty important part of the VEFF, or the Worldwide Flora and Fauna. And I got onto that based on how easy you made it to submit the logs. And now, since I'm using Ham2K, it's even easier. So I can kind of direct or send those directly to the map representative. But you have the opportunity to spot on both networks at the same time, both the POTA and the worldwide flora and fauna. And I found that really made quite a difference. So I had a lot of Europeans coming in. And what I would do then is just pause if I had heavy like 5.8s, 5.9s coming in from the eastern seaboard, the U.S., and you could hear some European accents in the background. I just pause all the callers and say, I'll call DX only for about 5 minutes, and just say, guys, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm going to call DX only, and wait till that peters out. And it's surprising what you can get. Stations from Greece, God's sakes, like that's super, super cool. And Turkey, and we're talking about, that's real DX to me. Skipping over into Italy seems to be quite easy for some reason. This must be a direct third skip or something, maybe fourth, I'm not sure. But Germany is always strong. But those guys, they really know what they're doing, right? They're highly technical ham operators. So that doesn't surprise me that they get in super good. And the Dutch too.
Yeah, from here, from my house, it's very easy. Sugar Papas are very easy, and Lima Zulus are very easy too. And you're right, the Italians, the Dutch, the Germans, they all just flood in when I do POTA or worldwide flora and fauna as well, because I kind of tag team the two together when I can. One of the things also, Rich, outside of Parks on the Air that you're very much involved with is the Atlantic Canada QSO party. You were on the planning committee last year for that, as well as with our good friend, what's his name now?
Stanley?
Is it Sean?
Stanley, it starts with an S.
VE1RPX, I think it is.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Anyway, Mr. Hayes, Stuart Hayes, we just have to poke some fun because he couldn't remember Richard's call sign on when the video that we did with Stuart a few weeks ago. Obviously, Stuart says that you're his best friend in Nova Scotia. That's something to be, having a high esteem, right? He's a very stand-up individual. Our friend, Mr. Hayes, there. I know obviously I know how you got in. He reached out to you and said, "Hey, Rich, you want to be part of this?" What does being part of a different community like that bring to you as a ham radio operator?
It's kind of, for me, a volunteer effort. And in my retirement, I'm trying to make positive influence on whatever community I decide to get involved with. And you got to pick and choose, right? Because not everything is worth your while. And some things are a bigger fight than the other. But Stuart wanted to do the Atlantic Canada QSO party. And I thought that was interesting. And plus the fact that you can do it portable if you wanted to. I met him on the air during POTA. We made 3 or 4 contacts. And I seen that there was a park that I was going to go activate. And all of a sudden, there's this guy from Ontario who's already activated this park. It was like a all-time new one. It had never been activated before. I was like, what's going on here? So anyway, after a few times, I started remembering his call sign and decided to meet up for coffee one day. And his wife was kind of surprised. You're going to meet somebody that you talked on the air at a McDonald's? And so yeah, I introduced him to our local club, and there's a few folks that were at that meeting. And to me, it's more social again. We spend a lot of time by yourself when you're retired, and that's one of the things that I missed from working is the social aspects. So it's kind of a replacement for that. Some people are only into the technical when it comes to ham radio, but there's a real social aspect for me, and that's one of the things that I enjoy. And it's an interesting thing to be involved with contests. Stuart's a great organizer. He's a technical mind. He covers all the bases. He's a great project manager. So I thought, hey, I'm going to support that because not only do I like him, I like the idea of what he's going to do.
Yeah, and I was involved with it for a bit last year too, and I made a decision sometime middle last year that I was going to not be involved with organizing anything anymore. So everything I was doing organized wise, from it flora and fauna to I was a POTA mapping rep for a little bit last year. I just gave that all up. Most of it I handed off to Peter V9CZ. I said, "Hey Peter, take this. You have it, right? It's all yours. I don't want it anymore." But I was getting to the point, where you could, and my wife says to me, "Rich, that this is your method of operation, Stuart. You do this all the time. You jump in with both feet, and then you realize you're overwhelmed. You got too much on the go." And you start dumping stuff. And so you did it in your work, you did it and now you're doing it in your hobby. And she, you know what, Rich? I hate to say it, but she was right.
Yeah, she's right.
So,
yeah.
So obviously the ACQP had a great year last year. I think we did really well. Year 2 is coming up. I'm really looking forward. I haven't decided when I'm going to do it. If I'm going to stay at home and not put Kent County again on the air, or I was thinking if the weather is good, I may go up to Miscue Island up there at the northeastern tip of New Brunswick. So that's not a very, but I I think that's in the same county as VE9XX. So I'm thinking I might want to put a different county on the air.
Yeah.
I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but I'm really looking forward to the second year of the ACQP under the new management.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Good idea to get as many counties covered as possible in order to give some interest to the people that hunt it, and that could very well help and improve participation even further.
Absolutely. So, Rich, to kind of wrap up here, you've been doing Parks on the Air for a few years now. You've done the RAC challenge. What tips can you share with a new activator here, in the Maritimes or in general, just a new activator in general? What 3 tips can you share with them to make their activations go, easy? Make them easy.
Okay. Number 1, do your research. If I'm going out on a multi-park activation, I'll build my logs prior to going out, including the address in the title, where it is. And that way, if it's a new park to you, it's right on your screen. Worst thing is getting to a park and losing cell phone coverage, and now you no longer have your ability to even find out what the park name is to do the spot if you can do the spot, because sometimes you can do a data spot without having very good coverage, but it's very intermittent, and you have to ask people to respot you. So sometimes what I would do is go to location, find a frequency, and then drive a couple of kilometers, go up on a hill, spot myself, hurry back, set the antenna up again or hook the radio up, and then get on the air. And then what you got to do is ask the people that hunt you to respot you. So that's one way to do that if you have poor cell phone coverage. But otherwise, it just makes things go a lot better in your setup time. You don't have to spend 10 minutes with your log trying to figure everything out while you're there. You've already pre-planned it and you're ready to go. The second course is time of day for the band that you're working, right? You'll figure it out pretty quick if you do mornings, late morning, afternoon, before supper, and then after supper, depending on the time of year and band conditions. So learn your band conditions, learn your propagation. Then it goes a long way to enjoying the experience. The last thing I would say is your kit. You don't need a complicated kit to start with. You can start with ham sticks on top of the car, and I've done that, and I have a very small kit. It's ready to go at all times. It's got 3 radiators in it, a 5-inch mag mount, a box to hold a 23 amp hour battery, and the radio and a headset and the iPad, and away you go. So it can be simple, but if you're going to camp out someplace, dedicate a better antenna. I have a stand for my 20-meter vertical. Couple of radials off that, so you can get it 8 feet off the ground and put a few radials out. And if you want, you can orient those radials for directionality somewhat, as shown in the POTA Performer antenna. A link dipole is quiet. And that's what I love about the link dipole, 40-20 link dipole. You get up in the air there a ways, and the difference in noise level over a vertical is quite surprising. And it's one thing I appreciate about being set up at camp. And to that end, I built a couple of drive-on stands, and one for the bumper of the truck where I can put up a 24-foot painter's pole and put the link dipole up there. So if I'm having trouble with noise, put the link dipole up and away you go. So that's it. And don't be afraid to do stuff for yourself and experiment. Not everything is a purchase. Like I built some mounts for my truck. It has a fiberglass cap on it. So it's a metal mount where you can put a 3-disc mag mount on it. But, you just tap into the bolts that hold the magnets on, and you can put some clips on there to run radios. And I use the power pole connectors because they're quick. And then I have the wire wrapped around a piece of 2x6 that's about a foot long, a hole in it, and you just pull that out and put a rock on top of it or something. And the idea is to get going as fast as possible. And I like making a lot of contacts, but I don't see a problem with anyone making 10 contacts out of park if they've got some time.
Talk about quiet of the dipole. I went out the other day and did a activation. I built a 20-meter dipole out of a $30 Amazon Ballon and some speaker wire. And I took the FTDX10 out for the first time. I bought myself a second FTDX10. I said, I'm going to take this one out to do an activation, see how it works in the field. I thought I did something wrong, Rich, because I didn't hear there was no noise on the band. It was quiet as quiet, but the signals were just booming in. And I just went, wow, did I do something wrong here? And then I said, okay, let me hook up the FT891 and see how quiet that one is. And it was the same thing. It was quiet. And so you're right. The dipoles definitely make a big difference for sure. Rich, hey, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate your competitive spirit that we had in 2024. We had a good run there. I'm happy you didn't participate in 2025, or you at least had that, not put that notch in your belt that you won that thing. So Radio gave me a chance to win it in 2025. This year, we'll let somebody else take the prize. There's a guy up in Ontario who really wants it bad. We'll let him have it. He's but you know what I appreciate about what he's doing? He's doing the same thing we did. He's got that competitive spirit and that goal to win it. He's got the goal. I talked to him the other day. He's got that goal to wanting to do it. I said, well, it's all yours, my friend. Because I think I can speak for Rich. We've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Rich, hey, thanks for coming out and talking to me. I really appreciate everything you do for ham radio, our friendship over the years, and just being a guy out there, another guy out there up in the Maritimes, putting some parks on the air.
Thanks for having me in. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure here, and good luck on your next interviews. I like the series that you're doing, and all the best.
Maybe we'll get Stanley on again to do a threesome video. Thanks again, Rich. Appreciate it, my friend. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and watch our future videos. We have a number planned out. We're working on getting some very interesting people inside the Parks in the Air world and outside. We're trying to get some recap on the CY0S expedition, the Victor Papa Zero expedition is coming down, and trying to get some good contest guys come and share some contest tips. Again, I'm Stuart, Victor Echo 9, Charlie Foxtrot. We'll see you guys in the next video.